Yes. Okay. All right. So hoping you guys had a chance to at least review the proposal and get some more understanding of the proposal.
I tried to.
Okay, great. That's all we are looking for here.
Yeah, I've written down the purpose of the proposal and then what type of project it is and what kind of improvement is needed.
Okay.
So let's talk through it, right? So if you look into it, when you had to read through it, what kind of problem it is? Let's talk through that. What kind of system it's building, right? So it's out of the 5 different data system types. What type of project is this? Is this a new development? Is it a rewrite? Is it a data warehouse? What kind of things it is?
Yeah, I think it's a new system development completely.
And what made you to think that?
Because the initial one, it was like a standalone application, but it does not, the older system does not integrate with other platforms. So I think we have to build a completely new system altogether or new application altogether which can interact with other platforms or other interfaces.
So you can also categorize that as a rewrite, right? So if there is already something exists, and if I'm like it's kind of redoing it, is it not a rewrite, or why do you think it is a new app?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've gone a little bit blank because
Yeah, Herschel,
all
hang
this,
on there.
I was running around between all these Chromebooks and laptops for to make this work. So
No, that's okay. All I'm just trying to figure out, remember, like it's how we did the analysis of the other problem, right? So if I look at it, right, so in this one, Herschel, if you can hang on to that, the third line on this one, right? This says health districts have established goals and objectives for new technology and the creation of a data warehouse for the respective health district, right? So that tells me, hey, the eventual goal is to utilize the new technology and build a data warehouse, right? So are they doing a data warehouse development, right? So when you look at this, right, when you say, so over the past few years, both ABC and XYZ Health District have made substantial progress towards this goal by implementing the following new technologies and software applications. So to me, it's stated that, hey, they're already well into their vision of implementing a data warehouse and the new technology, right? So Herschel, if you can scroll out a little bit more. Some more. I think it's the next para, it's kind of going to talk through it. That right there, right? So when I look at it, right, it says that what they're going to do it is upgrade their software application. But as part of it, they want to both collaborate instead of doing a standalone application, right? So one of the things that they talked about is design and development of this new system. The following items. So is that what you were looking, Rati, when you were mentioning that, hey, it is a new system development because some of the features doesn't exist?
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking that the older one does not, like, I completely scrapped off the older one, basically. I did not think about rewriting the older one and upgrading it to a system that would that would interact with other platforms.
Kashmira, what is your thought?
Well, I was on a different track. What I could get from all this was, I just underlined the main things which I understood is that they have already implemented a lot of improvements, and implementations has already been done. So they already have systems in place, but they need to now, they went step by step with the older ones, and now they want to upgrade their software application. That's the underlining thing which I felt. I was leaning more towards enhancement. I mean, so
That's good.
Yeah, I think Kashmira, that was your question even in the class, right? Why enhancement and rewrite cannot be the same thing. So probably this is a good example.
Yeah, Kashmira, sorry, I think you got muted here. By mistake by me. So can you unmute? And
yeah, sure.
I think you were speaking something. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah, it's okay.
So the things which I was a little bit initially confused between two different concepts, but then when I went through the different I don't know, I underlined a few things which kind of bring me to the conclusion of enhancement. One was an upgrade in the software application. They want to still stay with the same software, which can support the same software. So they don't want to go with a new technology or program, but they just want to add new features and put this new design and development, which can enhance or improve the process for nursing. Sorry, what was that program?
Public health and nursing program.
Because
PHN.
it also says that if you go to the executive summary, when you go to the different bifurcation, it does say that the customer service health district nursing division's purpose is to improve the county's ability to meet the needs of individuals and families. So that was the other thing I highlighted. And it does say that in economic drivers is a solution that are pluggable, reusable, and flexible and integrated across all existing applications. So I don't know, I was leaning more towards enhancement.
Okay.
Okay. So Harshal, how do you view that?
From the business standpoint, right? So this is so obviously there are drivers that they're facing some challenges with the current software they currently have it. Specifically, they mentioned 3 drivers here, right? Customer services, they are not able to provide the bad customer service the way they want. Obviously, economic driver, maybe there are budget constraint is there. So plus they are keep on adding new features and so forth, and current software may not be able to support it, or it's not flexible enough. More like a plug and play type of software. So it's not like a plug and play type of software what they currently have. And the third thing is social implications. So obviously the populations are growing, and there's obviously a need to provide a much more better integrated approach to provide the different kind of services to that population. So from that standpoint, if you look at those 3 business drivers, then it supports the technology driver, which is, okay, we have this current system, it is not meeting our needs. Let's go and leverage, basically use a commercial product or build an in-house product, or maybe rewrite the existing software to complete different technologies which can support these 3 business drivers. That's what we are talking about. And so that's where the technology section comes in the picture. What they are doing with the technologies and why they are doing it is specified in the drivers at the top, those 3 drivers. So in order to address So I would focus on what they are planning to do with the technology as well. And so again, technically, you can classify as a rewrite of the existing technologies to a new technology, or you can call it with the new system with the additional features that, or all the features they want to build it as part of that. But it's more like a rewrite to me that they have it. And that's the general approach. I mean, you're gonna come across this problem very often because a lot of business. I mean, if you really look at it, technology life cycle is really about 10 years into it. Any system that you look at it. So after 10 years, they have to basically rewrite it or port it to the new technology, and that's what they are trying to do here. Um, does it make sense from that perspective?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
But when it says in technology, which I kind of highlighted, that new technology allows for the design of more flexible, pluggable, and reusable solutions. So it's asking about new technology. It's not saying about improving the existing technology.
That is correct.
So
That is absolutely right, because the older technologies, they cannot enhance the software. It's costing them much more. So even if they want to add a new feature, they can't add it. It's not scalable solution, or it's not a flexible solution for them. So in order to meet the population needs, and so they have to practically rewrite the software with the new technology and new architecture, and from the technology standpoint, so that they can build it in the future. If something else comes up, they can use like a plug and play type of approach. So add a new feature without rewriting bunch of things in the software.
Okay, so basically we are calling it a rewrite because there's already an existing system, although it does not work, we know that, and it needs a lot of improvement and all those things, but there is still something that is existing, and that is why we are calling it a rewrite. As opposed to a new system development would be when there was nothing at all, like we are starting from the very foundation. Am I on the right track?
No, that is correct. And that's the typical terminology you're going to come across in the IT world. Rewrite is what they are. If the older technology system exists and it's not meeting the needs, they have to rewrite it at some point with the latest technologies and with the new features as
Unless
well.
it is a startup, maybe then something
Yeah,
like the startup that
yeah,
we
if
have.
somebody is coming up with a brand new idea and they don't have any existing software, and they are basically writing a software for it in order to address the business problem, that's basically the brand new system or new software at that point.
Okay. I'm just wondering when will I start getting this right?
It is okay. I mean, you guys are thinking in the right term. I think that's the whole reason we are having the discussion, right? We
Okay.
want to make sure you get the perspective as well.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think it's the key thing there, what I just said is you need to start looking into, not necessarily always there is, because in the IT world, there is no right or wrong answer. The key fact that you need to do it is you need to figure it out what questions you need to ask it in order to gain the same understanding at what your client is having. Right. So in this case, that's why I kind of pointed out to Herschel and say, hey, what do you think it's in terms of it? What are the drivers that you read it in the document that is kind of making you think that it is one way or the other? And that's the key thing. So when you look into now going into what business problem they are solving it, right? So this one definitely you can just say, hey, when the good thing is around, it's a process improvement, right? So even though you may not see it a clear cut that there is a process around it, what it is the overall process of supporting the health need of county residents is what they're after. And today everything is disjointed. And then having the new system that allows you to build those integration essentially allows you to provide that uniform experience that will result into a much more better process of how they support the county residents.
So have you guys looked at what they currently have? Because that might tell you a little bit more as well, why they want to address this problem. why they want to go towards a rewrite or rewriting the systems they have. So if I go back here
don't
somewhere,
think- yeah, I don't think I've paid attention to that, like
okay,
what we currently have.
yeah. So I mean, obviously, typically, I mean, here the first few pages are very important, like executive summary and so forth in the proposals, because there it tells you the business problem, what they are trying to address, and so forth. So if you look at the first page here, what they currently have, and then they mention the drivers here. Um, so if I'm looking at this particular line, what should be addressed? What are the technical challenges they are facing, and what are the new capabilities they want to add?
So I wrote, as the question was asked about purpose of this proposal, I was not sure what is expected when you ask for a purpose. So I just wrote down a few pointers. So basically, purpose of this proposal is to develop a new system or software that will integrate with existing application and data warehouse. And then providing self-service choices for patients across both districts, and
Okay.
creating standardized user interface for capturing data, and standardized software for processing, storing, and analyzing this data.
Okay.
That is what I felt was the purpose.
So when
Um,
you say storing and processing and analyzing this data, what data are we talking about here?
the data, the patient data that will be captured in both the districts. So
So can you give me an example of some patient data?
Let's, for example, their medical history, or their personal details maybe. So it can be, I don't know if it can be shared within the organization, but yeah, things which you don't have to repeatedly ask the patient. It should be there in the database, so something like that. So it has to be, that data has to be stored somewhere, and then it both the districts, or whatever departments within the nursing department are there, they should be able to access that data whenever necessary, so that you don't have to go to the patient and ask again and again, something like that, I guess. And for that you need a standardized UI to capture all that data, so that the very first time when the patient registers or comes in, you get all the necessary information, I guess.
Right. So when you say standardized, right?
Mm-hmm.
Help me understand a little bit more. What are they trying to standardize, right? If I'm just building only one system myself,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody else is using it, so whatever I build, it is the standard, right? So what is your definition of standardized here?
I am just assuming that there will be different departments or different people basically entering the information when a patient first time comes in or calls in. So like a form, filling up a form, online form, or something like that. So that is something which I'm calling as standardized. The capturing of data needs to be standardized. Because earlier, why I came up with that, because it says that both the districts, one district was using laptops or computers, the other one is still in the process of acquiring all those things, and they were just probably traditionally just putting data in Excel sheets or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the reason I came up with standardized.
Yeah. So one of key thing, Rati, that like I'm kind of seeing a pattern here, that you have to, like, it's kind of just like what you're saying, right? What thing that you read it in the document that made you to come to the conclusion, right? So start understanding that. So one of the other thing that you use the word, you are assuming it, right? So when you are specifically in the BA arena, my recommendation is don't go with any assumptions.
Right.
Validate that with your stakeholder or with user and says, hey, from the reading, this is what my understanding is. Am I correct? Right. Because what that does is takes any perceived notion that you may have it as a PA of what the system should be doing it, and then allows you to look at it from your stakeholder or end user's point of view is what the system should be doing. Okay.
Anybody else has any thoughts?
But was that correct, Dilip?
Yeah, no, it's again, to me, it's a understanding that you build it by asking those set of questions, right? So that's what, so you, I would not stress as much as whether it's correct or wrong, right? I would stress it as that, hey, is your questioning and your mindset, is it in alignment with what you should be doing it? Right, so that's what I say. It's like I'm seeing a pattern which is good pattern where you are like it's kind of questioning it or at least highlighting it is, hey, you're coming to certain conclusion, but what information that you read it that is making you to come to that conclusion?
Yes, I mean, honestly, I don't know, assuming word just slipped off, but yeah, I picked it up from this, it doesn't have a page number, but yeah, it's from observations, issues and concerns. It's under XYZ County Health District. So there it is mentioned how, you know, there's issues with the traditional capturing of database. So it says, you know, user created databases, spreadsheets, and then there's sometimes like third-party software packages. So this is all like disconnected, and that is why the standardized word came to my mind actually.
Okay.
So let me ask you one more question, and like it's feel free, anybody jump in if it is. When you looked at this proposal, right, did you have any understanding of what is the actual business or what is the actual purpose for those county when they say, hey, we want to serve our residents with the health information? Give me an example of kind of things that they're doing it for their customers, or their, in this case, their customer is the resident. Think of it, right? When we build the classroom example, right? Where we started talking about, hey, what kind of problem is it solving and what is it trying to do it, right? So when you think about custom creation, right? Their business model was, hey, we are essentially providing a service to the customers where they can actually customize, but they can't customize everything. They can customize based on the products that we offer as a standard, and then they put some customization on it, and that's what we sell it. So that's kind of a business model. Here, what is the business model? What exactly they're trying to do it?
So they already
when I
have...
say health, right? Well, what is the difference between going to this particular health district versus going to my doctor's office?
This definitely will give a wider user base. That is what it mentions, I know, in one of the paragraphs. So it's like a survey, right? The wider audience you have in a survey, the more accurate results you have. Similarly, like when they want both the counties to develop or use this new application so that
but what is this new application is supposed to help? So
can I try to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead, Ashmita.
Sorry, I didn't want to jump in. So basically, I think that they have been trying to improvise their or make improvement to their technology in different areas like data warehousing, vital statistics, environmental daily activities, their billing system. they want their nursing program to kind of complement to the same kind of, they want to rewrite it, and the need is to make the process improvement so that they can coincide everything together, because they're trying to use the same kind of application software so that it can interact with each other and all the procedures go smoothly one after another. Because I mean, after all, everything is connected. This is just one system. It's just it's going to operate in a different functionalities, but like if the nurse, then it goes to billing, and before that they need to know the history. So everything has to kind of be able to interact with each other, the different systems they're going to use, but it's going to be the same software, similar software.
So let me ask a question, right? So I think it's what both of you are referring, right? It's a IT systems person's view, right? Hey, I need to do this because technologically this is what I need to do it to integrate and all.
I have a different answer.
Go ahead, Rithi.
Yeah. So the answer to your question, I feel, is what you were asking is what they are trying to provide. They are just trying to provide healthcare with a lot of options. So if an individual or a family is trying to get healthcare, they should be able to see all the options online or whenever they walk in. To the nursing department. I'm sorry, I have the least knowledge about healthcare and stuff, but I'm just trying to make sense of the words. But yeah, they want it to be easy, basically, for people who are looking for healthcare from the state. So,
Yeah, so I think it's Rati, you are going in the right direction, right? So anytime when you have to start looking at it, one of the most important thing I would advise it as a BA, first try to understand what is the business, what exactly they're trying to accomplish as their goal, not necessarily technology related, right? It's what is their business goal? In this case, right, their business goal is to provide a much more efficient way all the healthcare services to their residents, right? So for example, if you go to either Franklin County or Delaware County Health Services, right, there are certain services that it's kind of provided as a free from the county point of view, but there are certain services that they may interact it and then they just kind of provided a funding around it, or they may have a certain government regulation to follow it in terms of saying, hey, how many county residents are kind of like it's gone through a immunization program that is required for the government, right? So if you go to the school, right, even at the elementary level school, before you go, right, they will ask you, hey, what kind of shots and the vaccination that you have taken it, right, up to reaching to the point where you are now getting enrolled in school. Well, somewhere somebody needs to keep track of it, right? Who keeps a track of it, right? So what Harshal is sharing up here, it's talking about it's the public health and nursing services, right? So
now, I think I sent this information as well, right, as part of the email. Not sure whether you guys had or maybe did you guys receive this?
I
At
think
least
it's there in our printouts as well.
okay. So it is related to the public health. It's kind of like but BCMH is a specific business. Basically, it's a very specific service they are providing to certain folks, not like a health insurance type of thing. So you need to start getting familiar with what they do. So I mean, I would suggest at least Google what the BCMH stand for, and maybe go to the health department website. You can pick any health department, I think, whether go to Ohio or Michigan or doesn't matter. Okay, and just try to just search for the keyword BCMS, and you will find tons of information, what they actually do from the business standpoint and what are the things. And you might find certain systems as well from that standpoint. But this one information is specific for the health department here, Ohio. So if you go to the odh.ohio.gov and search for BCMH, yeah, you will find more information as well. That is, as Dilip said, I mean, it's a key. You have to understand the business before you can actually go to do any further analysis standpoint. Same thing if you are in the mortgage industry or finance, you have to understand the business side of things a little bit, and then actually work through the IT requirements and so forth. It's kind of
So
like a getting
basically
general
that
overview.
is okay. So basically that is going to be the purpose statement or the purpose that you asked for.
Well, it's leaning in that, right? So if you don't understand what is the business, right, then it's very hard for you to start having a conversation with your customer and just say, hey, I want to understand is what should be the capabilities that needs to be built in the system, right? If I don't know, like let's talk about that custom creation example that we talked about, right? If I don't know how to actually show the product or customize the product or ship the product, it's very hard for me to build a system that will provide requirements to tell it exactly how that needs to be built. Right. So the first step and foremost step that I would just say is that as a business analyst, the first thing you need to do it is whether you get a problem statement or whether you get a proposal, is to first understand what is the actual business and what are they asking, right? As we talked about it in the custom creation also, the first paragraph was actually setting you to give you the business context of what exactly they are doing it and what is the current state. And then they turn in and ask it, okay, now that you understand what we do it and where we are today, this is what we want to do.
Yeah, I think in that one, we missed what they were trying to say is because we missed the fact that that business was actually catering to individual buyers first. And that is why we missed the next key sentence, which said that they were trying to approach the corporations. Like that was the thing they were aiming for.
Right. So same way, right? What I want to look for it is, I would like you guys to read the proposal, right? And as Arshil mentioned, go to the Google, right? Try to understand, hey, what exactly business they're trying to do it. Jot down the questions that you may have it about their business to understand what they're doing it. Then jot down things that, hey, how are you, I'm going to know it. What is the goal that they're looking for, right? And if you recall it, right, the one of the slide that we had it around the problem definition, right? That there are 4 steps in any problem analysis that you need to do it in terms of understand exactly what they're trying to do it, right? What are the pain points, what are the drivers, and what is the scope? Right? What you looked into it right here is you looked into what are the technical drivers, right? You said that, hey, there are antiquated systems, old technology that I can't integrate with the other technologies. I want to have a better way to integrate it. Those are fine and great, but if they're not tied to delivering the value for the business, they are meaningful drivers. And then there are meaningless drivers. The business one that you're trying to do it is initially are the valid drivers. All the other ones are technical drivers, and some of them will align to the business drivers. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
For the problem
We need a whole lot
analysis-
of practice on it.
No, it is definitely opening up really for me. That's great, because the problem analysis pointers that we had, it says understanding problems. So now I know that we are looking for what business, first of all, we need to know what business they are doing. And then the next one says objective or goals. So yeah, where they want to go next. That is what we will be looking for.
Right.
So I think if you understand the business, it's easier to understand the problem and come up with a solution. If you really look at from that standpoint. Um, I'm sure in the finance industry, you guys understand a lot more, right? So you can use your experience to basically have a meaningful conversation. And this topic is kind of like a little bit newer for you guys, but we want to go through this process so that you understand the overall process. How do you go about it, no matter what industry you're going to end up in the future as well.
Sure, this is really helpful. Actually, it's opening up new doors for us. I am really hopeful.
Okay.
Okay. What other questions you have, like it's when you read it, that you needed to answer in order to understand whether the more the business or the pain points?
I had a bunch of questions. Should I go ahead with it? I don't know. Do I have to wait for others?
No,
let's go ahead, right? This is an open forum for conversation, so go ahead.
Okay, so is this the typical format of have the correspondence happens between, if you are a business analyst, you have to prepare this sort, is this the normal format, how you work with it? Or is there any format, to be very frank, asking, or how does it work? Is it going to be, they're going to sending us the, they send their requirements, and then after the preliminary stuffs are done, and when the actual project starts, is this how it works around, or is it like more of back and forth going on?
So there are a couple of things, right? So we have not even actually started the actual business analysis of how the approach that you go through it, right? Right now, so far, all we have kind of focused on it is, hey, somebody from the business side is giving you a problem statement. And then you need to understand it is what is the problem that they're trying to solve it in order to even go into the analysis phase. Right. So typically, like it's in the planning phase, right? Remember, we talked about, hey, somebody needs to come up with a business case. Somebody needs to come up with a high level, what is the timeline? What is the cost? What will be the return on investment? Right. So they start with some sort of a business statement with saying, this is what my issue is, and that's what I need to resolve it. So that's what so far, what you're seeing it is that the statement that somebody put in and says, hey, this is my business and this is my pain points. Can you help me solve it?
Okay.
So far we are just only at that phase. We haven't even started it into terms of, hey, how do we go about, once we understand the business problem and the pain point, how do we go about it? Or even if we understand just the business problem and we don't know the pain points, what is the format and structure and the process that we go through it to find the pain points? And while doing that, then trying to identify what is their desired state will look like. Because remember, as a business analyst, you are taking what a user wants it, putting it on a piece of paper, and then sharing that with the technical guys who says, this is what our customer needs.
Right. So is it important to know the technical world as well in order to have that kind of smooth interaction with the technical people? Because when you talk to...
I would say that you need a little bit of technical knowledge, but you don't need a whole lot of technical in-depth knowledge.
Okay.
Right. So think about it. You mentioned that a couple of you are in the financial industry and 5-star, right? So first of all, you need to understand, if you're trying to do anything, you need to understand what is the business? How are we supporting the customer? So that I step in and say, this is how I'm going to do it, or we're going to use this process to solve the customer issue. As Harshal mentioned, right? When people say, hey, I want to like to get a mortgage. Well, is your problem, what is the main key problem, right? You want to get mortgage, but for what, right? A, are you trying to refinance it because you already have a loan at a higher interest rate and you're trying to refinance at a lower interest rate? Or you're buying a house, or you're doing a reverse mortgage, or you're going a fixed, you're drawing a line of equity or line of credit against the house, and that's what you're trying to do it. What exactly you're trying to do it, right? So there may be multiple goals that you're trying to do it. And then the pain point could be is that, hey, you know what? I want to reduce my payments, or I want to it's kind of reduce the overall amount I'm spending in an interest so that I can pay it more towards my principal. Or as part of my lowering process, lowering the mortgage payments, I may want to extend my payment terms from 15 years to 30 years or vice versa. Right. Unless you know those pain points, you will not be able to go and say, okay, here are your potential solutions, right?
Okay.
Now, one thing, Kashmira, you asked about the format, right?
Yeah.
So there is no standard format in the industry. So it depends on who is writing the problem statement. But you will always see something related to that describes the business drivers. I mean, you typically will see that what basically makes them rewrite the system, or what are the main drivers. I mean, you will typically see that in any proposal or problem statement, because they are trying to address some problem, and what proposed solution is. So those are the only two things I think you're gonna find common. Other than that, I mean, it will be depending on who is writing it. So there is no standard format as far as writing this proposals or problem statements.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what we will talk over the next few sessions, Kashmira, is we will talk about the techniques, right?
Exactly. I just wanted to
So we will talk through a whole bunch
jump in
of
and ask about the same thing, that if there are any techniques, any kind of format which would be helpful to kind of put that in front.
I
that
think
would be
documentation
some.
will be taught.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where I'm thinking is, right, so where you have to think about it is we will talk about a whole bunch of techniques, but what Harshal is pointing it out, there is no standard way saying that you do A first, then you do B, and then you do C, and then you do D.
Okay.
You need to understand what is the objectives that you're trying to do it. And based on objectives, you look into what is the technique you're going to do. So for example, right, if you have a whole bunch of, I would say the collection of various spoons and utensils in the kitchen, right? Nobody can tell you that first you should use only this tool, and then you use knife, and then you use the fork, right? You have to look at it, hey, what is exactly I'm trying to do it? If I'm focused on cutting something, I'm going to use the tool. If I'm going to focus on mixing some things, I may be using bowl.
Okay. That makes sense.
So like the BA is not exactly answerable on how they are approaching a certain thing, right? I mean,
I would use a different term, right? I would not use the things as answerable, right? But what I would focus on is BA is not necessarily tied down to follow only certain path. As long as they get understanding of what the business problem is, what are the pain points is, and what are the key drivers that are driving the need for the solution, then they can articulate it as, okay, here is the type of things that you may want to address it as part of your systems to do that. And then have that conversation with the user and says, is this what you want? Is this what would you like it? And then they turn around and tell the IT guys, here is what our customer wants it, right? And they kind of organize it. Because if you think about it, your users will probably sometime might be organized, but for most part, they won't be organized. Or in some cases, they may be just giving you only a slice of the whole picture, because all they care is what my interaction is going to be.
Mm.
Right? But then you're going to have a different roles also. So like it's in the example that we talked about, the custom creation, right? You're going to have employees working at that shop is going to be involved. You're going to have the third-party vendors who's going to be involved. You're going to have customers who's going to be involved. You're going to have a shipper who's going to be involved, who's going to ship that items, right? But everybody's going to just tell the story from their viewpoint of view. And as a BA, you need to bring all those viewpoint of view together and then tell a entire story that focuses from the business point of view. And for the IT guys, it focuses from the system point of view, is what system they need to build it and how it's going to augment the business processes and business issues to resolve the pain points.
Right. I do have a question
Mm-hmm.
with regards to the nursing department project. What would be the scope in this particular one? It says a scope should be what should be a part of the solution and what shouldn't be a part of the solution. So how do we define that?
So think of it, right? So what they're talking about is, here is the business issue we have it, and here is how we're going to resolve it. Now, certain part, it's going to be, I would say, as a help or addressed through the system. And certain part, it's going to be manual process. It's not going to be the system. So when they talk about the scope of the system, they're telling you the boundary is that, hey, here are the parts of the process that I want you to help me through the integration with the system. But here are the other parts that I want you to be aware of it, but don't worry about implementing that in the system.
And I think Rati, you are asking what's the other kind of scope, right? So I would look into the what in addition to Dilip, what Dilip mentioned. So they are kind of like have a high level scope here. What the systems nursing computer software project supposed to have it. What are different modules? So it's more like a vision statement, kind of. These are the minimum things that we have to have it feature wise. Now, once you start diving into deeper into the analysis and requirements, it could change, but this is what they have laid out as a high level, what they see in the new system or those systems, basically. What are the features they want to implement at a high level, very high level.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether you guys looked at this section as well, but that's kind of like one of the things. So they have the issues and concerns, they have it, and then systems defined. It doesn't say it's a new system. This is clearly it says, so that's something you would clarify basically with the business typically. So it gives you the scope, kind of like daily activity, patient registration, encounter, accounts and billing, medical records, electronic medical records, immunization tracking, and so forth. Those are kind of, it's a high level scope of the features.
And there is also a scope where, I mean, I've gone through some, some, what do you call, like on YouTube, I've listened to some sessions. So usually scope is like a 1 or 2 statement thing. Is that true?
Not necessarily, right? So it depends on what level of scopes you're defining, right? So if I may just defining it, as Harshal pointed out, right? Here are the type of functions it's going to be in the scope. In anything else, or here are the other part of the system, it's not going to be in the scope. The second thing you may just say it is, even within those functions, they may just say, hey, the scope should involve this, this, and this only. So in those cases, they may just give you a detailed information in terms of what is part of the scope and what is not part of the scope. So it's always going to be depend on the level of the detail that they have put it and given you in the proposal. Now, when you define the requirements, that's where you're clearly identifying the scope, right? So everything that you define in the system as a requirement, that becomes a scope of the system.
Okay. Scope is something that we do at the
Right.
last.
So I'll give you an example, right? So if you're like, it's kind of, let's say if you're living in a rental apartment, right? And it's a multi-story building. When they talk about, hey, you need to clean the building, right? So as a resident, right, what is your scope? Your scope is probably clean the house or the unit in which you are residing in.
Mm-hmm.
But the staircase, right, it's probably not your scope. It's whoever owns that building as a landlord. They need to make sure that that is clean on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you think about it, it's a scope as, hey, I need to clean the building. But as a resident, right, your scope is just what is kind of within your domain or within your control. Anything outside that, you don't care. Right? So in this case, right, so when you talk about, hey, I need to put a patient registration system. So in this scenario, right, they say, hey, my scope is to get maybe an insurance information from you and put into the systems. But I'm not going to worry about how do you enroll into that insurance. That's outside my scope. Does that make sense?
So I think as we go through some of the business process exercise, it might make it more clear. How do you come up with the scope and define the scope as well? Detail level scopes for the system. When you talk about the scope, I mean, you are talking about from the system standpoint, the scope, what needs to be implemented in the system, basically. So
Okay.
One way to think about it, and this is something that I want all of you to, when you reread it and come on Saturday, just think about it from the point of view is, you have got this information about this problem in proposal 11-page document, right? When you look at it, right, you need to think about, okay, who all are kind of impacted based on this proposal. So for example, I'll go back to the custom creation example that we had talked about, right? So when you say who all is impacted from that point of view, it's the employee at the store, right? It's the people who wants to build the things for their employee or customize the things for their employee. The other person who will be in the scope is, remember it said that, hey, there are certain things that we do as an employee as a customization within our shop, and certain things we just give it out to the third party to customize it. Okay. Right? So you are impacting a third party and that they will be a player in it. So we know that, hey, there is at least 3 different type of people or groups which are impacted: employees, the customers, and the customization vendors. Right? There may be other people who might be involved, and that's what you need to look through it and say, hey, who all is going to have some sort of impact when the system is getting built.
Right.
You mean to say when the system is down, when they're upgrading it?
No, I don't want you to think it from the down or upgrading point of view, right?
Not the IT point of view.
Yeah, from the business
think
standpoint.
It from a business point of view.
Business point of view, okay.
Right, is who all is impacted by this overall business and the business process and the pain that they're talking about. Let's not worry about how it's going to solve it, right? To me, that's a secondary part. First, we need to know, hey, who is impacted? Then we can think about it, how they're impacted, right? I'm not worried about how yet.
Maybe in the nursing department project, the nurses or the employees are not going to be a part. They are going to be out of scope in this one.
I don't know, right? And that's what I want you guys to start thinking about it.
Okay.
Right? It's the process of list it out who you think are impacted, right?
Actually, it does mention about training somewhere, I think.
Okay. So when they talk about, let me ask an example, right? So Harshal mentioned that, hey, registration, patient registration is one of the functionality that's going to be required. Well, that's good. Who is going to register patients?
Mm.
How are they going to get that information about the patient to register that?
Employee, of course, yeah.
Right. Well, you're assuming it.
See,
Right.
those are the questions. I think once we go over the techniques, certain techniques, I think what techniques you can leverage to get things out of the people, right? I mean, it's more like a interview techniques that you have to pick up, and those are some of the things that you're gonna apply. I mean, as part of the artifacts that you're gonna build as part of this thing. So.
Right. All answers are not going to be in the business proposal, basically.
No,
Right?
business proposal
Yeah.
is very high level, right? It's like a 1,000-foot view. Once you zoom down to each individual pieces, like a patient registration or encounter, that's where your detailed requirements will come in the picture. But before that, you need to identify a lot of different things like business processes and a lot of other things. Who do I need to talk to, right? From the BA standpoint to get more information on the encounter process and so forth. And as part of this whole thing, you're going to identify different people who are engaged in that. And I think that's what Dilip is mentioning. Identify the impacted folks as well. So,
Okay.
yep.
So is this example going to stay along? We're going to work along with this particular case study and go on in the details, keeping this in mind? Is that how we're going to work it out?
That's
Yeah,
the plan.
so,
yep.
Yeah, you will be doing the project, right? So think of the way we want to do it is we'll talk about the techniques, right? But you have to apply those techniques. So we'll use this particular case study for a business proposal to apply those practices and apply those techniques to come to an answer and says, okay, this is how I build the requirements document.
Okay.
Right.
So about all the
reason, like I'm saying it is like, think about who all are impacted, because one of the things is that you need to understand how they're impacted, and the way you're going to understand how they're impacted, as Harshal mentioned, you're going to interview certain types of people. First, you need to figure out what type of people you need to interview. Then you have to worry about what information I want to get out of that interview. Because if you're not sure what information you want to get out of that interview, you can't interview it, right? Because then you don't know whether you have the right tools and techniques to accomplish your goal or not.
Right, and that is where the purpose comes into picture, right? That's why you need to know the purpose.
Precisely.
Yeah, the business, right? So BCMS, what is BCMS? That's a simple question that you should be able to answer. And then you will be, if you can tell, basically, if you research that, you will know. It's not a rocket science. I mean, it's a process, right? It's a very standardized process across various states, I guess, throughout the US.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing I want you guys to think about, right, is, as Harshal said, right, that there are information that you need to acquire, right? One way is to Google it. But what if you don't come across when you Google it? Then you need to figure out who you're going to ask that question to.
Yep.
Right.
There are already contacts here for ABC as well as XYZ. There was a name mentioned, if I could find it now.
Right, but those are the project contacts, right?
Okay. So are those people we are approachable, or we can approach anybody who in different departments when it comes to interviewing?
That's what you need to do it, right? First, you need to tell, looking at this proposal, is who all are impacted, who all you want to interview. If I just say it, let's say if I'm at the ABC county, right? Okay. And you come up with this proposal and you start asking questions. It's I don't know, right? Why don't you just go and ask whoever you need to do it? If they go and ask it, okay, go ask whoever you need to do it. then the onus is on you to figure it out who those people are. Right? It may be a nurse, it could be a doctor, it could be an employee working, I don't know, right? But you are the business analyst that I hired in order to flesh out this requirement. So you tell me who you want to interview and I'll make that person accessible to you.
So our next homework is to find who are going to be impacted by this project and what are the questions we need to ask them or interview them.
So
I would just first focus on who all are impacted.
Okay.
and understand the business, right? As I said, I mean, just Google it. I mean, spend some maybe like a couple of hours on what is BCMH and what they are trying to do from the business standpoint.
Sure.
Try to understand that. I think that one will give you a lot of answers. It will clarify you a lot of things for the proposal.
Sure.
And the site I mentioned, just go there and Google, basically on the health department side, just search for BCMH. You will find tons of information and maybe picked out some of the process type of things and what they do and so forth.
Okay. About the other aspects which are included in the proposal, I'm pretty sure that probably we will cover them in the later point, and probably I'm jumping my guns by knowing it, but there are a lot of different forecast, the timelines and timeframes and the estimations and everything. So is there a general calculator to do that, or do we, how do we determine or come up with certain number if we are looking at some projections, even for times or even for estimating the cost of the project? Are there any parameters we're looking at, or are we going to learn about that more in the future sessions?
So typically the estimation and so you are not the only one engaged, right? I mean, there are other team members like project manager. They are typically responsible for scheduling high and maybe high level estimates as well, working with the other team members. So it's not an individual exercise. So you typically work with the PM is generally responsible for the timelines and so forth. So not you guys, but you guys are responsible. You guys will provide input. What features, high level features and so forth, and the problem statement and collecting the requirements. So yeah, I think we will talk some of those focused on your role, not necessarily on the PM role.
Gotcha.
Yep. But most of the things should clear out as we go through the process here.
Okay.
So it's a BA's job to define the timeline and the cost and everything, or?
So the way I would think about it is, as Harshal mentioned, right, there are multiple factors goes into build out the total cost, right? As a BA, your most important job is to make sure the problem is understood, the scope is well defined, and the requirements are clarified, so that whoever is the architect or whoever is implementing it, they understand what they need to do it, and then they can give an estimate. Remember the pie chart that I had shown you? About 25% of the project fail because there is no clarity around the requirements. Whose job is to make sure that the requirement is understood properly. That's BAs, right? So you may still have provide, hey, this is the scope. If I tell you that, hey, I need to build a 2-bedroom house, right? Then the contractor can come up with and tell me the cost, right? But I have to tell him, what does that 2-bedroom means? Is it just only 2 bedrooms, or it's 2-bedroom and a loft and a backyard outside with a patio and a pool? Is that the definition of 2-bedroom, right? So depending on what you identify as a requirement, your contractor is going to give a different estimate. If you fail to specify all those things, then your contractor is going to fail to give you the right estimate.
Okay. Should we do the optional, Kashmira, have you done the optional one? The optional homework?
Oh, the one which was given sent today in email?
Yeah, I wanted you guys to focus on this one first, and then work through the other one. So I mean, if you want to do it today, it's fine. If you guys want to think it through and work through maybe next week, we can certainly tag along with that. So
I mean, I'm okay doing it right away. Right now, today, if there is more something which you guys would want to explain or add to this, then we can do it next time. But I'm okay with it.
anybody
I've
else
solved.
has any? Yeah, go ahead.
I've read it. So yeah, I can discuss about it, but yeah, depends on what you guys
Yeah.
had planned.
Okay. Reja, do you have any question? We didn't hear anything from you. I mean, if you don't have it, that's okay. But I just want to make sure before we move on. Okay, I think she's on mute. Okay, I think we can go through the second one. Now let me pull that up here. Not this one. I think I just sent you guys today. Give me a second.
It's the Arflower.
Yeah, our flown one, right? Yeah. Okay. I think
Oh
I
no,
had
it was right
It
there.
was back there.
Oh, it was there.
Yeah, the
The
first one.
second option. Is that it?
No, this
No?
is a different one. So what
Okay.
I'm going to do
Oh.
is I'm going to go here and see if I can find it here.
We should have under all project files.
Yep.
Yeah, the
There you
first
go.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This one, I don't know. I wrote down the purpose. So what I understood about this business is that, or what they are trying to achieve is that they want a commercial software to be developed to help dealers with loan calculations and uh, for applications of loan um, through a lender. So whoever comes to repair their their vehicle, they can apply for loan. So
Okay.
these shops want an application or a server, I'm not sure, a server. So if someone comes in and they want to apply for a loan, they can just directly go on this particular site and just fill up all the needed information, and it can go for approval or for review to the lender.
Okay, so what kind of business problem? Let's talk about it, right? What is the category of the business problem this is addressing it? Remember the 5 categories that we had, right? Process improvement, cycle time improvement, productivity improvement, cost reduction, and market share improvement. So which one is this?
I'm not too sure. It could either be a new project because they do not have a existing product as such where people can directly apply for a loan, because when someone comes in and they don't have the money to repair their vehicle, they will say, okay, I'll get back to you, or okay, I'll go to some XYZ company and apply for loan. Then these guys, the shop people, have to wait on the approval for that, and it will take a lot of time. So when I say a lot of time, then cycle time improvement comes to my mind. So I was kind of confused between new project and cycle time improvement.
Okay, so you're mixing 2 things here, right? So the type, I'm not yet focusing on type of project, right? I'm focusing what is the type of problem, business problem they're trying to address it, right? So the exercise that we did in the class, right? There are 5 different types of business problems, right? One which is driven because I want to do a cycle time improvement. There is another one which, hey, I want to do a business process improvement. The third one is, as we talked about, I want to reduce the overall cost. Fourth is I want to improve the productivity of my people. And fifth is I want to gain market share. So which type of business problem or pain that they're trying to address here?
I would say cycle time improvement.
Okay. So what is current cycle time?
It says several days. It doesn't really specify how much time it takes.
Right, but does it say is that, hey, I want to reduce that several days from that, and that's primary reason why I'm doing this work.
Yeah, they want to reduce it to within a week.
But is that
the
the
long
primary?
approval time.
Okay. So who is the business here?
Mm. Business as in through our perspective?
So who is asking you to do this thing?
The shop or the dealers.
So is the dealers asking? Is the dealers is the business? Who is like it's kind of telling you this is the problem exists and this is what I want to build?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, then what is the lenders doing? Why are lenders involved here?
Lenders, I don't think directly, they are not directly involved in this because they will ultimately receive the query that the shop will send or the
Who's going to pay the money? Who is going to give the money? Lender or dealer?
Lender.
Okay, so you're telling me I'm going to give you money, but I have no say in it?
Yeah, but the paragraph does not mention anything about lender at all. Like what their role is going to be in all this.
Well, if you look into the bullet item G, what does it tell you?
Yeah, lender would then log on to the site and review the application. Lender would then approve or deny the credit application.
That tells me that they have stake.
Yeah, yes, they are a stakeholder. Yes, I will not deny that. Yeah, they are one of these stakeholders.
Okay. So why would dealer build this application?
The dealer will build this application or want us to build an application for them because they want to reduce the cycle time. They want to.
Okay. How many dealers are
lose
using
business?
How many dealers are using this system?
It does mention. I didn't see it mentioned. How many are there exactly?
So let's say if I have 5 different dealers in the town, are each one of them building their own systems?
This is just, but Arflower is the. This is related only to Arflower, the company.
Okay, so who is building? Is Arflower company is building, or is the dealer who is building?
Arflower is building.
Okay, so if Arflower is building, what is their primary purpose?
Building a application for Arflower.
Okay, so if I'm a business, right? Why would I build an application? Why would my goal is? What is my goal to build an application?
To get more business.
Okay, what is my business?
Auto repairs, financing auto repairs.
It's Arflower financing it, but then we just talked about the lender is the one who is giving the money. So isn't the lender financing it?
Kashmira, you want to come to my rescue?
Again, I'm not trying to be hard.
I mean, I was ready to jump in. It's just that I just didn't want to interrupt you guys. Sorry, I lost the audio for a little while. Sorry, what were you asking?
So my question was, what Rati mentioned that Arflower is the one who is financing the car repair work.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, if you look at the item G, lender is the one who is financing it. So why is Arflower interested in building this app?
You want to take a shot at that?
Sorry, go ahead, Rati.
Oh no, I was saying you can go ahead and.
Again,
Okay.
I'm not trying to be hard, right? I'm trying to ask you questions so that
I
you can start
completely
digging
understood.
deeper and reading it, not just the artificial words when you're reading this paragraph. You're trying to understand the intent behind it.
So from what I understood from this is that Arflower wants to, they are basically independent contractors, and they have their own agents that would help to, it's like Arflowers are the intermediaries between the lender and the dealers. So they are kind of playing the middle person role here. So they want to be in, they want to build this website to make sure that when somebody comes in the shop and they do not have enough money, like example, if you go to Kohl's and Kohl's have their own credit card, in a simple way, when they go to the dealer and dealer can offer them this lending services, which this contracts where they can go in and fill in their information, and there is an actual different when lender who can approve or disapprove depending upon, I don't know, the credit rating or multiple factors which they have to decide upon. And that's where the lender falls in the place. The lender is different from the actual company, arflower.com. I don't know if I'm on the right track, but I thought that in this is a new system development. So they're trying to enter a new market here.
Precisely, you got it, right? So
okay. Think
about it, right? See, Arflower, as you pointed it out, they are just the broker between the dealer and a lender. And their benefit is the more transaction they make it happen between a dealer and a lender, the more money they make it, right? And as you pointed out, the system doesn't exist today. So my market share today is 0. And once I build the system, I'm going to get some of those brokerage market. Because it's a completely brand new market that I'm kind of putting it. So I have 100% opportunity to grab it. So that's the intent, right? So when you look through it, right, it's the person who is building the system is the arflower.com, right? They are financing auto repairs, but they are not lending the money. They are just brokering that capability. And that's what their benefit is. They want to sign up as many dealers as possible, and they want to sign up as many lenders as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it kind of like Amazon doing the same thing? They provide their platform, they sign up the sellers and buyers, they just bring them together.
Hmm.
And then every transaction you go, they're making a cut on it.
Yep.
Same thing with Apple, right? If you think about it. App Store, when you buy an app from an app store, Apple is helping you to make that transaction. And they're taking a cut. You are a buyer, whoever is build the app is the seller. Prati, do you see that?
Yeah, I see that now, yeah.
Right. Do you see why it is not a cycle time improvement, but it's more a market share?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I missed that part completely, actually. That Arflower was the intermediate.
Yeah, I think you probably read the first line and you thought they'll be financing it from that perspective. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Okay, any other question on the problem statement here or business problem?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So it says that, oh, sorry. It says that what kind of system architecture that may help Arflower Corporation?
Oh, you are reading the
Okay.
The exercise 3?
exercise
Yeah.
3? Okay.
So
Acha.
let me ask you a question, right? We
Yeah.
talked about 5 different architectures, right? Monolith, client
Monolith.
server,
Yeah.
multi-tier, 3-tier architecture, right? We also talked about the mobile, and we talked about the service-oriented architecture. Just by looking at this, you're probably not going to have a lot more detail on it, right?
Yeah.
There are a few that you can kind of rule it out, right?
Yeah.
Because this one doesn't mention anything about able to do those things remotely. So most likely you're going to rule out the mobile.
Also
Agreed.
client server, maybe we have to rule out.
I don't know. What makes you think we are to rule out client server?
Because it's not as easy as just you fill up a form or you ask a question and the server or the
Well, are you
it,
sure?
because from the dealer someone is going to fill up a form after going to that site, and from there it is going the information is going
So,
to be accessed by the lender.
so it's a request, right? So I requested a form, filled out a form, and send a request to say, can you give me a loan or not? And the system may send out a request to lender, and lender responds. It's still a request response. Why not a client server? Because if you look at client server, it's all about requests and responses.
But there's another party involved here. So does the client server application support the other parties, like different?
Why not? I may have different types of client.
Okay. I'm stumped.
Yeah.
To be very frank, that question I did not, because I wrote down the answers and everything for the other part, but aspects. But when it came to system architecture, I was really stumped. I was looking at all the graphs and I was like, oh my God, I don't know which one this goes with.
So it's a purposefully, it's exercise 3, right? So it's a bit after exercise 2. So once you get a little bit more details around the requirements, that's where you can start figuring out the architecture and so forth. Now you can guess it here. I mean, what kind of system they like to have. Maybe it's business generally have some ideas. So they might when you interview them or talk to them, they say, yeah, it needs to be something like a web-based or something like that. But other than that, I mean, architecture is technically done by the architects or technical teams. And it comes after the requirements generally.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's driven by the requirements.
So think about it, right? So just by having a business problem, I would strongly caution against jumping to a conclusion and says what type of system you're going to build it. You want to make sure you understand exactly what is the pain point that they are trying to resolve it, and then figure it out what kind of systems you can build it that may resolve that pain.
I'll have to ask you the description of all the architecture, because I kind of, everything is looking similar to me right now.
Right. So I'm just saying it's based on whatever the information you have it only in the first paragraph, right?
Mm-hmm.
The exercise 1. I would just say I don't have enough information to make a decision.
Okay.
What kind of system? I can potentially give you, here are the 3 different ways you can accomplish it. And each one it's going to be completely different architect.
Okay.
So I think it's we need to put it a little bit more understanding in terms of, hey, what are my boundaries? What are my restrictions? Right? It's kind of like, think about it this way, right? So if you look in the airline industry, right, and you just say, hey, I need to go from a point A to point B, and just based on that, you're trying to figure it out what kind of plane you will buy. Right? There goes a lot more information than that, right? There maybe it's as simple as, do you want to go nonstop, or can you go with some hops? How much is the distance? How often are you going to go? Do you want a private jet, or do you want to go through commercial? See what I'm leading to? That you may have information, but you may not have sufficient information to come to a conclusion of what are the optimal choices.
Yeah, at least not for this question, system architecture. Yes.
Right. That's why, as Harshal pointed out, right? So you start with the problem, then you understand what are the requirements, right? What are the features, what are the capabilities that you needed? And then you make a determination, hey, if I need to provide you this capabilities and this thing, here are the architecture that we can build it that may allow you to fulfill that. But as I say, like, it's, if you want to be a business analyst, the first thing you need to bring it is curious mind. Just like 2-year-old kid, right? When you're trying to do it, and they will keep asking constantly why you want to do it. Why? You may have to build that level of curiosity in order to understand it exactly what they're trying to do, and then articulate what you understood.
So we cannot say what architecture it is, but can we define the scope based on this?
So you have a high level, I would just say, some understanding of what they're trying to do it, but there is no clarity in terms of what is included in the systems point of view that they're going to support and what is not included. So for example, right, when they talk about lender would then approve or deny credit application. Well, credit approval, it's a significant process. This document doesn't tell me whether it's included or it's not included.
Yes.
Right. So I still need to know a little bit more in order to determine what is in the scope and what is not in the scope.
Now, if you look at the high level scope here, so they have very high level scope defined, which says these are the folks and they should be able to do certain things in the system. So that's a high level scope. Now you look at each line item and try to break it down further, what it means, or what additional things you need to collect, and what business process that goes along with that. What are the details that you need so that you can communicate to the technical teams, and so forth. So business problem might be like few lines, but this might be the whole 6 months worth of effort when you try to document the overall system requirements from the business analyst standpoint.
Yeah, like you said, Dilip, it's there will be a lot in the picture when we are thinking from the lender's perspective.
Yeah.
Are we going to do this one in details, or we are just focusing on the nursing one?
I think we're just going to focus for now in the nursing one, and we'll probably do some more activities around the custom creations.
Okay.
I think it's most important thing is to understand the tools and the techniques. And when you try to apply that to multiple examples at the same time, you always run into risk of not understanding the techniques better. Right. So where I would recommend, it's that we talked about, right? We do the exercise and focus on as a primary into that nursing system. And then you can always, if you have a bandwidth on the side, you can continue to apply the same principles and techniques that we talked at into this particular product and understand through it.
Okay.
Trust me, if you just want to do it in a business analysis around the nursing system, you still can do a lot more than what we will be able to do it in the class.
And basically, I think you guys are saying that just Google more information about this actual project and the terminologies used in this.
Right. I think that the key thing is you need to do it is there are various tools that you need to do it in order to understand the business problem, right? So if a customer has given you saying, hey, here is my proposal, you tell me what you can do it for me, right? If you have to answer that question, right, obviously you need to first understand what the business problem is. And you don't want to it's run into a scenario where every small detail you're asking back to the customer. They're hiring you because they expect you to do some work for them, right? And that means they expect you to do some research around it as, hey, what is available, what I can do it, what are you looking for? And that's what Harshal is pointing is doing a search around Google to understand the terms and terminologies and following those trails and to understand what it is one of the role and the things that business analyst needs to do.
Now, when it comes to the actual system level requirements, yes, that's where you will have a lot more interaction with the customer. But you need to get familiar with the terminologies, what they are even talking about, what is their business is about. That's what we are asking you to research and work through that.
Yeah. So, for example, right, when you go into health industry, right, or forget it. Every time you go to the doctor, right, one of the questions they will always ask is, do you want a copy of your HIPAA privacy laws, right? So if they're asking you to build a healthcare system, they said, hey, it needs to comply to HIPAA laws. They're not going to sit there and explain you what HIPAA is and give you all the details, because that is an industry standard term that you should be able to Google it or go to the government side and understand what the HIPAA law means. Right. So that's the key, right? So as a business analyst, you need to go and say, hey, when they say a system needs to be HIPAA compliant, well, what are the kind of work and what are the capabilities we're talking about?
Yeah, like in the financial world, right? You have basically SOX compliance. I mean, it's a very, they're not going to tell you, I mean, all about that. You as a BA, you need to figure out what is really SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley compliant means or what it is, and then have meaningful conversation with them. Or ask the question basically for collecting the requirement. So same concept. I mean, no matter what industry you're gonna go into.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Anything else you guys like to discuss? If not, then I mean, we can. We'll meet on Saturday morning, 8:45. Otherwise.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All righty.
Bye.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, Dilip.
All right, Harshal.
Bye.
See you on Saturday
See you.
morning. Bye.